Okay, so I guess this is going to be my first official tutorial. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, so just bear with me. So, the Sketchbook app by Autodesk is a rarely used app, and there's very few tutorials on how to do some of the artwork even that I do. So what I thought would be a great way to start is to give you a little bit of a crash course on how I learned how to do flames and just some of the techniques I use. I tried watching tutorials myself, but unfortunately none of them translated well, so I had to kind of pick and choose what worked in those tutorials and translate them into how I need to do it. So what we're going to do is, what you want to do is to take a heavy set brush, point sensitive, lower the opacity to about 60, 58, 60, give or take. And so we want to start with roughly something in the orange spectrum. You make sure your settings are where in the advanced, under pressure. You want to have as low as the size in the light pressure and a good size in the heavy pressure. Right now I'm using 11.3 for the heavy and in the light 0.1. And we want the opacity down to about 60. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with like a circle. Now that's not exactly the size I'm looking for, so we're going to take that out and increase the size and try again. And here we go. We've got our nice circle. This is going to be like the core of the fire. We're going to start there. So once we started there, then we're going to start making our flame lines. Just have fun with it. Just, figure it out. Once you have the flame lines the way you're looking for, what I used was a smudge tool. I used the broadhead smudge tool and I smudged it out just to give it a bit of blur and a bit of wild and crazy flames. And this is how I end up doing it. Now, again, you will end up creating a fireball however you choose to do it. This is just a very simple one. Now next, what you want to do is I use the transform tool. Because, if we want a good wild and crazy fire, it's not going to all be uniform. So we're going to go ahead and just muck her up with the size variation a little bit a couple of times. Transform again. Now, there is other tools that allow you to get a little more wild and crazy, but again, Sketchbook by Autodesk is a very simple tool, and we are very limited in what we can do. But it still doesn't mean we cannot achieve some of the effects that some of the other more advanced tools go ahead and allow us to do. So next, what we're going to do is, again, we're going to start like what we did before with the same brush, same everything. And we are going to go ahead and we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to start stroking in some of our yellow colors. Now we're going to want to lower the brush just a little bit, and again, same tool, and we are going to fan out the yellow throughout the orange. Now don't worry if it doesn't look perfect the first time. It didn't look perfect the first time I did it either, nor the second, nor the third, nor the fourth or fifth. But it does eventually get easier. So see, now we're on our way to it starting to look like a flame. So next what we want to do is we're going to just do another lighter shade of orange. But we're going to go ahead and we are going to do another layer. And we're going to do a lighter shade of yellow. I beg your pardon on that one. And we are going to go into our library and we are going to find the Glow Airbrush tool. And we're going to just swatch in a couple glowing lines and effects. And again, we're going to use the broadhead smudge tool that I have down here. and we are going to spread it out. And now we're starting to slowly get to that point. So now we are going to make another layer, and we are going to change the layer to a soft glow. Now with this layer, again, what we're going to now do is we are going to increase the yellow to really pale yellow or to white. We are going to go ahead and use our airbrush tool. I like using about a 50-55 opacity, and we are going to lower the actual head down. You figure out the size that works for you, and we are going to do some glowing highlights throughout the fire. We're going to go ahead and now use the same smudge tool, and we're going to spread them out. Now this is starting to look a little more like a crazy fire that we've got going on. And like I said, it's just trial and error, see what works for you. And again, different programs offer different ways of giving you the fire you're looking for. For me, this is one way I had to find. So now what we do is typically, to get a better glow effect, I duplicate the soft glow layer that we just did. And then I spread it out like I did before. Now if I want a wider fire and wider flame, I go ahead, take our bottom orange layer, and I duplicate that. And then we shift it over and expand it. And then duplicate it again, shift it over. We do transform and flip. And if you don't want to do the flip it back and have it like that. And there, we are on our way to fire. I merged all the back layers together. And then again, we use our tool, our smudge tool, our broadhead smudge tool, and just drag out some of the fire, because as we know, fire doesn't all stay in one area. And then we do the same for some of the other layers, just bring it out. And if you have to, go back in and add some more. There is nothing saying you can't have as much or as little as you want. Just end of the day, you're trying to achieve flames. Now, what I also do is I then add another layer, and we're going to drop it behind the orange one. And we're going to find a darkish type orange red. And we're going to airbrush behind it, just to kind of give it that dark hue glow that sometimes happens around fire. Like I said, experimenting is about 90% of the time. So right now I didn't like that particular experiment, so I'm going through and I'm just deleting it out. Now sometimes a good way to get more definition in the flames is to go into each layer and use the soft tipped eraser that allows you for the smudging, the soft erase versus the hard edge eraser. And you go in and you carefully just extract what you don't need with a very, very fine tip. Now, another thing you can also do that I have done before is I get a light yellow, put it on top of the other layers, and we use the same brush, and we do tap, 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 lower the size down because those are just a little too big, tap, 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 and this is for like the amber that comes off of it. Use as many or as little as you want. And then next we do another layer and we go pure white and we're going to do soft glow. Now once we do that, we're going to go back down to our airbrush tool, use the same opacity that we did before, scroll in, and we're going to go over each little dot very gently, not too much. May have to lower the opacity depending how you're liking that effect. And if there is just too much highlight, you can always smudge it out just a tiny bit. But either way, you've got yourself a nice glowing fire. Make sure you add your watermark. And there you have it. That's all she wrote. That's how one method to create fire using the Sketchbook app on an Android tablet by Autodesk.